there was definitely a philosophy switch that we did. And we just said, we don't care. We want to concentrate on doing good work, on servicing our customers. And profits are a byproduct or your bottom line is a byproduct of doing good service.
A quick interruption to remind you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better. Hey, it's Ari Santiago. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Made in America podcast. I'm really excited today. I have Victor DaCruz, president and owner of DaCruz Manufacturing, and I'm really, really excited to hear his story and background. Victor, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, listen, Victor, it's the Made in America podcast, so we always start off with the same two questions. What do you make, and why do you make it?
Okay. We are a producer of precision machine components that we make for per customer spec. So we don't design, we just make parts that customers need for their components. And we do it mostly through precision equipment such as Swiss machines and Swiss inlays.
Very cool. Why do you do it, Victor? What got you into this business and what pushes you forward every day?
We do it because there's still a strong demand out there for these type of products. There's a lot of manufacturing. And contrary to what you sometimes hear, there's a lot of manufacturing. There's always new products coming on, and also it provides a great living for me, for our workers, for my family, and for everyone around us. We have 40 people, and it's been great. It's been a really good thing for us.
Well, let's introduce the audience a little bit to your story. One of the reasons I'm so excited, well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons I'm so excited to have you on today is to really share the story, because I think it's a great American success story on so many levels. And maybe you could just sort of share with the audience, you weren't born here in Connecticut, but you've been here for a while. Where were you born? How'd you get here? And how'd you get into manufacturing?
Well, I was born in Portugal. So right from the beginning, I was introduced to manufacturing because my family owned a tannery in Portugal. And so right from when I was little, that was my backyard pretty much. And this tannery was started by my grandfather. My father ran it. My grandfather passed away in 1962. My father ran it for about another 5 years, but it was a difficult time, both for the industry. There was synthetics and plastics coming onto the industry, and he had a common problem that we have today, and that was workforce. You couldn't find workers. We were in a very small town of about maybe 200 people, and we were the only tannery around in town. So there was a couple of towns nearby that had lots of tanneries and a lot of skilled workers. But at the time, this was the country is poor, and people didn't have cars. So in order for them to come to work for my father, they would have to either come on a bicycle or a motorcycle or something like that. And so it was difficult for him to get workers. And eventually, so we moved to America. And I was 11 years old and moved to Hartford. Went through school at Hartford Public High School, and from then I graduated in 1974, and I had an opportunity. Actually, I had a couple of opportunities. My first job interview was with Pratt Whitney, and I was offered a job there. And then I learned about this Connecticut State Apprenticeship program that was going on. And I decided to look into it. Had to, do some testing and so on. But that was the job that I chose because I didn't want to get tied into a job. I wanted to learn and I wanted to pick up a skill. So this was with the Jacobs Chuck Manufacturing Company, which actually was not that far from where we are sitting right now. Yeah. And they were right here in West Hartford. And that, it's where I learned my skill. But I was such a young man. I was, 18 years old. This is straight out of high school. I couldn't go to college because my father, he was, we had not been in this country that long. And it just was a big burden for him to put me through college. So I decided to go take this route. But, it wasn't easy. The apprenticeship that I took was on a night shift, and I had to work and the shift was from 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Actually, it was 5:30 in the afternoon to 4 o'clock in the morning. Just think about that. Yeah.
It's a long day.
Yeah. Long night.
Yeah. A long night.
But,
that's right.
But eventually, I did get my certificate, and which took about a couple of years, and then I stayed there for about another year. An opportunity came up.
Did you did the whole 2 years of your apprenticeship working that 5:30 to 4 a.m.?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I did.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it takes a toll in your social life.
I was gonna say I've been an 18-year-old man. Fortunately, it was too long ago, but that's a tall order on the social life and on everything to kind of pull those night shifts. You must have really liked it.
But I was used to staying up all night.
Truth. There you go.
So that was good.
Yes, sir. So you get through the apprenticeship program, which is really, I'll get back to that. So you get through the apprenticeship program, and then what?
Well, then another interesting thing, there was you've heard of Storm Larry in Connecticut, which was a storm that was the biggest storm I think Connecticut has ever had. Everything was shut down for 3 days. This was 1978. At that time, I didn't have to work, and I had seen some ad running in a newspaper. I went to this company, and of course they were working because they're a small shop. And walked in there, and I saw these, 3 or 4 people working on machines that I knew very well, and they're making parts on them. And I said, "What do you guys do here?" Because I didn't even know this existed. And they said, "Well, we make parts and we sell them to companies like Jacobs Truck." And I said, "Well, I'm in. I want to come in. I want to come to work here."
Really?
Yeah. And I took a huge pay cut.
What was going through your mind? What inspired you to get into that?
Well, first of all, I wanted to get out of the second shift. But I wanted to get out of the second shift. But I did see an opportunity. I did see a further, because Jacobs, where I was working, was a union shop for one thing. And so you couldn't touch certain things. You couldn't repair a machine. You couldn't, a machine broke down. You couldn't do anything. Because it was a union shop, they wouldn't let you. So it was holding me back. So I wanted to come, to work in a place like this where I could be free to do whatever I want, and I could further advance myself. But I did see an opportunity as well. It wasn't long before I was thinking, I can really do this because, of course, I'm 23 years old, 22, and I think I'm smarter than anybody, right?
That's right. That's right.
Young man.
We've all been there. That's right. That's right.
But I was good. I did it. I was a pretty good worker. I knew my machines. I knew my stuff. And eventually, one of the guys that I had worked with at Jacobs Truck came to work at this place. He took a part-time job at this place, and immediately we started talking and started saying, we could do this. And then I found a place for sale, a little place in New Britain, and we walked in there. It was one guy with 2 machines and a dog in the shop, and it didn't take. We basically bought it just because I had savings.
Right.
I had a really good job. Actually, my apprenticeship program at Jacobs paid really well, and working second shift and overtime. So I was doing great. I was making more. My dad worked in manufacturing, and right away I was making more money than my dad was. So, and so we bought this the equipment. We went through a long process with that. It was kind of funny because even though we didn't want to get tied into in case this guy had loans or debts that we were going to take on, because we were basically buying the assets, but we were going to go into the same facility. So we had a lawyer, do some work for us to search things and so on. At the end of our meeting, the lawyer looked at me because I was so young, and he said, "Do you know what you're doing? You know what you're doing? You know what you're getting yourself into?" And I said, "This comes with manuals, right?" I said, "This comes with manuals." And it was funny, but yeah.
What was the name of that? So you started this company in New Britain. What was the name of it?
So we started as C&M Screw Machine Products, and Cruz, and Martial was my partner, and eventually we had one customer, but that customer kept us going for a little bit, and we started looking at Jacobs Truck to do work for them. And eventually we got an opportunity. We took on one job, and that led to multiple jobs, and so on. So that, so that eventually Jacobs Truck had another plant in South Carolina, and they wanted to close this one down. And so they looked to make us one of their, key suppliers. So within 3 years, we had a pretty good business going. And we moved a couple of times. And, in order to increase more space, and we were buying machines. We were buying machines mainly through auctions and used machines and things like that. We never wanted to get into great debt because we thought that was just, could be, we don't want to get into a financial mess. But we kept, we did great work. We became a large supplier to them. We did that together for about, exactly 13 years. 13 years, so from 1981 to 94. But around 1990, 92, the president of Jacobs Truck came to visit us, and he said how great a job we were doing. And we were, at that point, we had a really good relationship with them. And he wanted us to move down to South Carolina to put up a shop there, because Jacobs by this time was owned by Danaher. And Danaher is one of the companies that initially brought, the Toyota, production system into this area. And they're the ones that, they were the pioneers, I would say, in working with, the Japanese manufacturing systems. And we were lucky to be there because we were involved with Kaizens. We were involved with, just in time, and we bought into it. We didn't fight it off. We didn't say us holding inventory. No, we adopted it, and we said, yes, we want to do this with you. And so, when he came to visit us, he basically said, we want you to move down next to us, and so on. We went down there. We looked around. Eventually, we found a building, and we moved most of the operation to South Carolina, outside of Clemson. Heck of an experience.
I bet.
Whole different world.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience, and because of all the things involved, and so on. But we, they were like 90% of our business.
Right.
So
customer concentration.
Customer says, move to South Carolina.
You're moving.
We're moving.
Yeah. So what happens?
So, yeah. So, but we needed to expand, and we needed to bring in other customers. We couldn't have all of our eggs in one basket. We needed to diversify.
Yep.
So we worked it out so that my partner, who knew that work really well, stayed in South Carolina, and I would stay here and build a business up over here. But, one thing about a partnership like that in a small business is that you can't really have a partnership that's 900 miles apart.
No, that doesn't work.
Doesn't work. It's like, it's like if you were married, your wife lived 900. It may work for some people, but
it didn't work.
It didn't work for us. And, things started to happen, but we split up the company. By that time, already had a few decent accounts up here, and we split. And this was 1994. And
so he took the part that was down in South Carolina.
He took the part that was down in South Carolina, which was the majority of the business. The good part of the business. And I stayed here. Put together, started to buy equipment again, and start to get some customers. And it was good. But right away I saw that I was good with the technology end, and I was also running the business, but I needed somebody to support me and to work with me. I'm not a true leader that gets out there and knows it all.
Right, yeah.
And at the time, my wife was working in banking, and they were asking for her to work on Saturdays. And we were like, no, this is family time. We're not going to do that. So you're going to come to work for the company. And it was a great thing because now I had somebody that could support me. I could really concentrate on the technical part of the business that we needed to do that. I could truly do that, even though I always did all the quoting and I always did all the sales. But I didn't have to deal with the accounting stuff or the HR stuff, which is really, really difficult. And so, just dedicated myself to it. One thing that we did at that point is we started to invest in new equipment.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for us, is that
new equipment.
New equipment.
Yeah.
Brand new equipment.
New technology, new everything.
New technology. And
what got you mentally shifted away from the idea of buying old, used, auction equipment and new technology? What caused you to flip that switch?
Good question, because that was huge for me at the time, because I'm a 24-year-old kid that started this business, but my partner is, I don't know, he was like 35, 38, something like that. Different needs, so it was always difficult for us to make a decision. It was difficult, neither one of us wanted to, put the other one out, so to speak. It was always hard to make certain moves. And when Betty, my wife, came on, and we just decided to say, this is on us, and we're doing it. And we took out a little loan for some piece of equipment, and then we took out another, and so on. So we built up, built up.
Do you think that in hindsight, was that an important decision to start investing in new technology?
Absolutely. We would not be here if we didn't do that. We would not be here. That enabled us to, gain trust with certain customers. The type of work that we were doing before, multi-spindle screw machine work, it's very labor intensive and very, you have to have a true skill to do that work. It's almost like it's almost like an art, because you're moving tools manually, moving things, and all kinds of problems. And the big problem with that was that you couldn't make a promise and keep it, because you never knew when something was going to go wrong and the equipment would either break down or things didn't work out, or and it was so getting into CNC equipment and getting into brand new, then you're in a position that you make a promise and it's there. You say, I'll have parts for you tomorrow morning, and they're there. Whereas having to fight it, we worked many hours into late hours because of those kinds of things.
Getting that done. But so that seems like two kind of big leverage points, right? One is breaking off from your partner so you could really drive in the direction you wanted to go. And then a mental switch to say, we're going to lean into the new technology so we can do new things.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yes, but there was another too.
Oh, please.
There was another. And that was the philosophy that we're here to do good work. We're here to service. We're here to provide parts on time. all of that. And we're not to care about the bottom line. When I was in a partnership, it was more about the bottom line. And, so you didn't invest and you didn't do certain things because you're more concerned about the bottom line. There was definitely a philosophy switch that we did. And we just said, we don't care. We want to concentrate on doing good work, on servicing our customers. And profits are a byproduct or your bottom line is a byproduct of doing good service. So
the mental switch wasn't to say we're not going to make profit. It was to say if we have the right technology, if we have the right approach to customers, if we service our customers right, deliver on time, deliver high quality, the profit's going to show up.
Yeah, it'll show up. Let's not worry about the weeds. Let's make sure that, yes. Yeah.
And that worked.
Absolutely. And it's still to this day, that's the way we operate. Once we take a job on, we do everything we can to make a profit with it, of course. Mm-hmm. But we want to make sure that it's good quality work and that customers are satisfied.
Get them coming back for more.
And that's it.
Did you buy into the Toyota production system and Kaizen and all that throughout? And do you guys still believe in sort of that lean philosophy, waste elimination?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But to be honest, after a while, things kind of tend to, it's like things change. So it goes from where it was Toyota production system to now to then it was lean and so on. There's always new things coming on, which is great. You have to keep up with it. And we did that through an association that we belong to, the Pmpa, which has also been a great experience. And that was also something that we did that helped us a lot, helped us tremendously.
So I actually wanted to ask you about Pmpa and all that, but I want to go back to something that you sort of glossed over, but I think it's interesting. You mentioned that your wife, Betty, joined the company in 1994, and that was part of the launch forward. So you've got a life partner with your family and your 3 daughters, and now that same person's in the office with you guys. And now what are we going on? 27th year, I guess, of doing that. You're still smiling. You're still married. It must be working. Married.
Yes, we are.
So listen, what's the secret? How did you guys make that work?
We just have a good time with it. We don't stress over. I've never been one to not sleep nights because of the business. Mm-hmm. I put it behind me. We've always taken our vacations, traveled, and just we talk a lot about the shop, and especially in the beginning, it's like, okay, should we buy this? And we discuss it, but we have a great relationship. We've never had any issues.
Good division of labor. You know your lane. She knows her lane. Is that part of it, or you guys cross over?
No, she doesn't know anything about machining. Those are blue machines.
maybe that's part of the secret. No overlap.
No, but I'll tell you, she's very capable, and she could definitely run that business.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think what's also interesting is that your wife isn't the only family member in the business.
Yeah, we're now starting to introduce, not starting to, because it's been a few years since we've started introducing my daughter and my son-in-law, Parrish Castor, to the business. So this is an ongoing process. My daughter has been having children. She's got 3. I've got 3 great grandchildren. I actually have 5 grandchildren, which I love to death. And but they have to manage that, the kids and school and all that. Mm-hmm. But they're very very engaged. Parrish is excellent. He's now he's our director of technology and quality, which enables him to go out to customers and visit and get to know customer problems and so on. Get to learn how to deal with customers. That's working out really well. He's creating good relationships with them. But also, we make sure that we keep up with technology. So I make sure that I bring him to tool shows whenever we can. We go to Chicago IMTS. We go to the PMTS, which is a PMPA show. We take as many opportunities as we can to learn, the new technologies or whatever is out there.
You must have some real secret going on, Victor, because not only did you find a way to work with your wife successfully for 27 years, you got your daughter and your son-in-law working in there, and you're still smiling.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
I don't have any hair though.
Maybe that's it. Sacrifice the hair, but you kept the joy. I think it's a fair trade-off. Talk a little bit about, PMPA. I'm a big fan of associations. I think you talked about investing in technology. You talked about your lean journey, which is to me a sort of business process improvement, and sort of leaning into the new and the next thing and how important that is. What's the role of PMPA? I know you're the former president of the PMPA, which is a national organization, the Precision Machine Parts Association. Just talk about your view of what being engaged in PMPA has meant for you personally and for the business.
Well, it's worked for me in many ways. The fun part of it is that we've been places that we've never been to. We would never visit. Because we've been all over the United States. Would have gone to certain places. But that's just the fun part of it. Secondly, we have all kinds of learning opportunities through trade shows, through conferences where we bring in, really good speakers, and we get to interact with them personally. We get to, explore all kinds of different ways that can help our business and our industry. We work together. Our motto is better together. We also have something that we call the listserv, where we can post any question that we may have, seeking advice, seeking help to correct a problem, a solution, whatever we need. We post it in this website, and bingo, like magic, answers come, and people just go out of their way to help each other. It's really a fantastic thing. So this has given me and given us, it's sort of like the next phase. So we used to get all this information, this knowledge from Jacobs, manufacturing systems, management systems, right? The Kanban, Toyotas, Kaizen, learning all these things. And after, and by the way, once we went to South Carolina, and I got out of that. So now I needed something like that. Mm-hmm. And we didn't join right away, but, when we got a little bit more financially stable, we did. And it's been a great experience. And then on top of that, they asked me to be on the board, which, really helped me personally to get used to, being in a boardroom, dealing with board members, moving up through the ranks and so on. Because, again, I wasn't born in this country, and language is always an issue for me. And it's just, it was a really great experience. I
think you've touched on something actually right here, which we haven't talked about too much, but is a really important aspect that I agree with you. And I was born here and still found this to be so helpful, which is you get involved in these organizations. And two things. One, you said was fun, which certainly the travel is fun, but it's also, I think, adds to perspective. When we go out and talk to customers and new customers and existing customers, it's great to be able to connect with people. And the more my experience has been, the more I've traveled and been to places that I wouldn't have otherwise been to, which I've gone to for different organizations. When I've, been to Memphis and, been to different parts of Louisiana and places where I wouldn't have already been to. And you learn stuff about those places. When you meet someone, they've been there too. You got something to talk about. It opens up a wider experience. And the other part is being in the boardroom. You have an opportunity to talk to other business leaders in a low pressure situation. So when you have the higher pressure situations, I think it's easier. Did you find that?
Yes, absolutely. Being in that boardroom with colleagues that, absolutely look up to. These are, by the way, I'm the only founder in there, and these are all second, third, fourth generation companies. and it was just an honor to be there, to be honest with you, because there's such great people that, for them to have me there, and it's you don't really have to, just being there and just seeing how they think and how they approach certain problems and how they interact. That in itself is all you need, really. And the networking opportunities by being on the board and traveling with them and going to conferences with them, having a drink at the bar with them, going to dinner with them, all of that stuff. It's been great for us. It really has.
That's really tremendous. I want to circle all the way back to something you mentioned, which was this apprenticeship. Apprenticeships were big, and I feel like they kind of fell out of favor for something. And now there's a lot of talk back about apprenticeship. Clearly, it served you well. I wonder if you could just maybe talk.
It served the state of Connecticut very well too.
Yeah, that's amen to that. But that's exactly, I think, what I wanted to circle back to, which is, part of the goal of the podcast is to educate people on what's out there. Maybe you could just talk about your view of apprenticeships, why people should consider apprenticeships as a great way to go. I don't know, maybe talk about that.
Sure, I'd love to. Big fan of apprenticeships, of course. But, we didn't do anything with it for years and years. First of all, the first part of being in business, myself and my partner, we just didn't have the time for that. We didn't have the staff for that. But when Betty came on, that was one of the things that she took on. And we, eventually we bought a building in Bristol. So we moved out of New Britain and we moved to Bristol in 2005. And that's really when we started to work closer with the state. We got a tax abatement with the state. And then, as we worked closer with them, eventually we started saying, well, we could do this state apprenticeship program as well. And we did. So as a matter of fact, we just had our first graduate, I think just before Christmas.
Nice.
And it was a great honor, and it was a great thing that we had a young man that about the same age as me that came through and is now has a good future ahead of him. Really, he really
that must
does.
have felt really good.
Yeah, it does. It does. So we are a certified state of Connecticut apprenticeship program, company.
So talk about that. Let's pull on that. So we know that for other business owners and business leaders that are listening to this podcast, why should they consider doing an apprenticeship program? And is it attainable? Because I think a lot of people out there feel the way you used to feel, which is it's too much. How do I do it? You have to have thousands of employees to be able to support it.
I'll encourage any company out there to work closely with the state, because it really has made a big difference for us. Some people think that all kinds of paperwork, all kinds of, all kinds of, things. But we, and again, give credit to Betty. We've made good relationships with people, and we've gone forward with, with all kinds of things. There was, at one time, there was a Connecticut Express loan program that actually gave out a grant, and we made a huge investment where we bought a machine, where we bought actually a total of 5 machines at the time, at one time, and we wouldn't have done it without that program. We couldn't do it, but that was a huge boost for our business, and it created jobs, and it just made us stronger as a company, and they keep doing things like that. It's, some people I think also think that this is like corporate welfare, but it's not. If it provides jobs and if it provides opportunities, it's a help. It's a big help.
So when you think about apprenticeship programs and bringing them into DaCruz, what's the value you see DaCruz is going to get out of having apprentices?
Well, an apprentice takes a job a little bit differently. He wants to earn that skill. He wants to earn that certificate, and it creates ownership. it creates ownership. And I'm not the only one in our company. We have our top programmer went through the Connecticut State Apprenticeship Program. Our very best guy went through it. And so there's something to be said for that. It's something that works. And I know I'm not the only shop owner that's been through the Connecticut State Apprenticeship Program. There are others out there. And, how can you beat that? I mean, I've provided between, 20 to 50 jobs my whole life, pretty much after, after going into business. And it's something. I'm very proud of it.
No doubt about it. So, we talked about how much you've kind of learned that technology and future investment is so important to be successful in business. So when you sit down now with Betty or with Parrish and Chelsea and you think about what to invest in next and how to decide when it's time to invest, how do you think about that? Is it gut? Is there analysis you do? Like, how do you determine what the next thing is?
When customers start complaining, because, that does happen. Of course, you always have to keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. And what happens is just like now, COVID, right? Things slow down. And when your large customers slow down, you have to try to pick up other work. And so other work comes. And now, your main customer starts getting busy again. And all of a sudden, you have a shortage. You have a shortage of equipment, capabilities, and so on, and you have to do something. And we've always done that. We've always invested in the company, and we transitioned where we had over 30 multi-spindle screw machines to where now we only have 3 or 4, actually 5. They're in the corner. I hardly see them.
And instead, you're using.
And instead, we've upgraded to all CNC equipment. We have, we're mainly Swiss style lathes, and we also have other types of lathes like mill turns and so on, vertical machining centers and all kinds of things, but pretty much all CNC. Where we've made the greatest gains in productivity and where we've made the greatest impact in our business is that we went from making blanks on machines to where we make finished parts in one operation. Mm-hmm. And that's always our goal now. So we eliminate a lot of the waste and we're lean because we don't have to we try not to deal with multiple operations. And we try to when we make a part, it goes through the machine in one shot and it's done.
You better have a pretty good machine and a good programmer.
We do. Yeah. And we took a family of parts just a couple of years back that a customer was making these parts in 4 or 5 operations, and we're doing them in one, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful parts, excellent quality, and it's.
You guys thinking about robotics, about the next thing? Is that kind of on the roadmap?
We do. We have a small robot. Yeah, I think you had Chip. Chip here.
CJ. Yeah, we did.
CJ. And so he built one for us, and it works all day, and it never takes a coffee break. It's a great.
What made you decide to take? I'm really always excited by that because I think it's important that Connecticut manufacturers get on the bus for this new technology, because you said it before, if we were still worrying about these screw machines, you wouldn't even have a DaCruz Manufacturing, right? We've got to get on the next thing. What inspired you to get into robotics, to make that first step? How did you decide where to go with the first robot? Like, can you share that with the audience?
Well, for one thing is, we try to educate ourselves always in what's out there. Mm-hmm. So we go to the trade shows, we see things, we see, go to IMTS, you see all kinds of robotics. So you see the opportunities, and then it's basically economics. It's, you have somebody sitting there doing something to a part all day long, and you start saying, well, how much does that cost versus how much does it cost to bring in a robot? Mm-hmm. So, it's just as simple as that. But when you buy that robot, you always got to make sure that you have multiple uses for that robot. So or that piece of equipment. And that's how we basically did our transition. It was always like, if this job doesn't work out, if this job goes away, what else is there that we have that can fit into that machine?
It's the backup plan.
Backup plan. Yeah.
So it's been
Always
successful. Do you see more kind of advanced technology in the future?
Sure, as long as it comes, we're going to be there. But we like to stay with our business model, which is complete parts in one operation. So and it has to there's so many facets of manufacturing, like 3D printing, for instance. 3D printing is great, and eventually I'd like to kind of maybe have a little 3D printer, but it's almost like a toy. We don't intend to be in a 3D printing business. There are companies out there that do that.
Right. So what do you think about, well, let me say it a different way. When you think about what it's like to work at DaCruz, trying to get out there to get people to understand that manufacturing is alive and well. And I know when we talked on the phone kind of before this episode, you had mentioned when you were a kid getting into this, not a lot of your friends were getting into this business. And I think that's sort of similar now. What is it like to work in manufacturing in 2021?
Well, yeah, very different. Very different, because when I first went to work at, Jacobs Truck and the other company, these were dirty, environments. The floor was full of,
chips
and speedy dry and cat litter, I guess you call it, stuff like that. But of course, it didn't scare me because of my background in Portugal. But and smells, and it was the hardest thing for us to, in the first years of our business, to bring in any kind of young person into the business. It was just about impossible. And things started to change for us when we started to invest in new equipment. Now, all of a sudden, now you can, young people, they're not stupid. They want to work in equipment that is progressive, and that, that's the future. So that's what we provided. That was one of the goals of changing over, because then we could, attract more talent. One of the things that we also did in that respect was to move and go to another facility, because the location that we were at in New Britain was still kind of an old style operation, and we needed to improve our workplace. Everybody talks about workforce development. There's also workplace development, and we worked on that too. Workplace development is important. You got to create an environment in the place that people want to work in, that people want to go to work in. It can't be a dirty, facility and this and that. The floor's got to be clean. The place has got to be presentable, and so that's how that's how we've upgraded, and we're doing very well with attracting younger people. Of course, again, Betty's gotten involved with that. So we've built good relationships with the tech schools around the Bristol area, and CCAT. That every once in a while they'll call us and they said, we have this great young person, and that's how we've been hiring lately. We kind of got away from looking for skilled, highly skilled, experienced workers, because for one thing we couldn't find them, and the ones that we could find usually had some kind of bad habits or didn't stick around for one reason or another. So we've been successful with bringing in people right straight out of high school. We did manufacturing day where we bring in the schools. We bring in bus loads from different schools. We bring them through the shop. We give them a little presentation. We walk them through. We show them the robot. We show them the cool parts we make, and we've gotten 2 or 3, I think at least 3 of these kids to come back and work for us. One of them is going through the University of Hartford right now. He's going to be a mechanical engineer, and he's been with us, and we hope to hire him full time. Yeah.
Listen, that's tremendous. A big,
Huge.
big fan of that. Yeah, that's really really tremendous. What do you see about the changing face of the manufacturing workforce? Do you see a lot more diversity in the manufacturing workforce? A lot more women, a lot more other things. What have you've been in it for a long time? What have you been seeing?
Well, we we love a diversified workforce, and we have one. Our shop is not only women and men, but we have all kinds of nationalities in there. I wasn't born in this country, and I could speak with anyone. I don't care what language they speak. I can communicate because it's about communicating.
Yeah.
So I can communicate with anyone. Never been afraid of that, and we have great workers. We just have a terrific workforce.
Yeah, listen,
We have
something in
great people.
manufacturing for everybody, right?
No, I couldn't be happier with the people that we have.
What do you personally, what have you, looking back on your career in manufacturing and what you've been able to do with it, what do you love best about what you've been able to do? What are you the most proud of?
Of course, that's helping people and the people that we've helped, that have come through and that have acquired skills and that now they have something where they came to us and they were maybe they were making minimum wage somewhere and now they're making $20 something an hour and they've got a skill. I think that's the most fantastic thing that we've done, and not only that, but also the relationships that we built with our customers. We still have our first customer, by the way. We still work with Jacobs.
Really?
Yeah. We still work with them. And I still go back there because it's like a sister company of them.
Mm-hmm.
I still go back there, walk the floor, and I still know people that are there. And it's awesome. It's been a great relationship. Just goes both ways.
Yeah.
They've helped me. We've helped them. But we have other customers as well that have been with us for over 20 years, and I know that we make a difference for them. We are consistently supplying them with parts. We have good quality, and that's those relationships. I'm very proud of the work we do, and that's equally as important.
That's great. Listen, I'm about to convert to rapid fire, but before I do that, I just want to kind of end on, there's a lot of, as you're coming out to, move into the next transition of the business, there's a lot of ways for people to think about what they're going to do when it's time to move the business to somebody else. And a lot of manufacturers in Connecticut have to make this decision. Talk a little bit about how you got to the decision to move it forward with Parrish and Chelsea and why keep it in the family versus not. And just, I don't know, I think maybe educate folks on that decision, that process.
Yeah, that's been a hard decision. That has. Because from experience, I know that if we pass it on, I'm still tied to it until I'll be tied to it forever.
Yeah.
And but I think we have a good plan. I think we have a really good plan, and they're both, Chelsea and Parrish, are both fantastic. They're going to be awesome. But we have to put the right pieces in place, the right things. We're doing that right now. As a matter of fact, as we speak, we're working with someone, and we're reorganizing, redoing our org chart, cleaning up and adding a few positions, so strengthening our management team, and I think that's going to go a long ways. I could see that once we get over this COVID thing, that things are gonna get busy for us again. I could see us doing some more expansion. I could see us, as a matter of fact, we're talking about it already. Maybe getting more equipment, so we're lining things up. I'm always one of the things that I've always done, that we've always been a secret, not a secret, but something that been, I guess, a secret to our success, key to our success. We've been through a few recessions. I've been through a lot of slow times and scary times. And we find that, I find that this is when you have to kind of rethink things. You have to kind of line yourself up, put yourself in a position so that when things pick up again, you're there, you're ready. It's usually when I work the hardest is during a recession or during tough times. it's when I really have to get in there and work in the business and not just work on the business. So I'm working in the business right now.
You're getting it done, getting it ready to spring back strong. You're going to be able to pass on all those great lessons learned to the next generation.
I think so. It's by example. I mean, my kids know how hard we've worked and how, honest we've been with everything, and how, just, how we lead our lives, frugally, but we enjoy ourselves, and we make sure of that. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that will work forever and never take a day off. No, I'm taking my days off, and Betty and I, we're taking a vacation. We're going to Portugal for not for not too long, but a couple of weeks.
Sure.
And we're doing that a couple of times a year, and we need to do that. You need to have some time away from things, which actually gives you a good perspective on things. You come back stronger.
100%. And then just curious, is there something emotionally satisfying about passing off the business to family and keeping it in the family?
Yeah, of course. If they can grow it. If they can grow it, because if it goes the other way, then of course not. And that was one of the things that made this decision hard for me, because all those years I used to go to auctions to buy machines. One of the things I did was I studied what happened here. I would always ask around and see what happened here. Well, you could see what happened sometimes just by the way they ran the business, just by looking around. But you'd also talk to people and say, well, this one, he was doing this and he was doing that. And then you see, it's terrible to leave a business in the hands of someone who is not totally equipped, and then to see them, to see the business go down. Try not to do that. I do not want to do that. I do not want to leave my kids with a headache. I want to make sure that they will actually grow the business, and they should be able to grow the business much more educated than I was. And I think that they will. I think that they will grow the business. I think that they'll do great. This is not going to be, and then on top of that, I got 5 grandkids now.
You'll be busy. Listen, I think they're going to do great. I think you've set a perfect example. And the things that we talked about, investing in technology, getting involved in trade organizations, embracing the opportunities that are around us to learn and grow, whether it's with the state and with other people. I think, that's really the important underlying principles. If we keep doing that and leaning into the future, it'll be great. And you've set a tremendous example for them to follow. So they got a good place to go with it.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, you ready for some rapid fire round of questions?
Sure.
All right, here we go. From Portugal, you're probably more of a soccer guy, but I'm still going to ask you, Red Sox or Yankees?
Sox.
There we go. Nice. Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Dunkin'.
When you take time off, staycation or exotic destination?
You call Portugal exotic?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty exotic, I would say. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Sports car or SUV?
Both.
Both. I love it. Great answer. Do you have a favorite business book?
I can't say I have a favorite, but over the years I've read many. Right now, I actually like to read biographies of people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and success stories like that.
Yeah, learn from them. It's a good idea. If you could do anything in the world, and it had to be something other than be the president and owner of DaCruz Manufacturing, what would you do?
Wow. That's a tough question. If I could be anything?
Be or do anything. Yep.
Well, I don't know. I would have to think about that.
All right, that's fine.
I have to give you some answer, though.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, when I was young, I would want to be a soccer player, of course.
That's what I was figuring. I'm gonna. Go ahead.
But then that changed. I would want to be Elon Musk now.
Is that right? Running a big manufacturing company. Let me ask you a separate question. You said,
and by the way, we make parts for them too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
For Tesla? There you go.
I'm very proud of seeing SpaceX go up.
Oh, nice. On the SpaceX. Very cool. You had mentioned that you go to Portugal a lot, and this is a very selfish question. I like to travel. I have not had a chance to go to Portugal yet. But if I do get a chance to go to Portugal, no, when I get a chance to go to Portugal, what's besides Lisbon, where's somewhere I should go to see that would be unique and special?
My hometown.
Where's that?
It's about an hour north of Lisbon. And really, it was a magical place. If you have a few minutes,
Please.
So when we lived there, it was a town of about 200 people. But of course, a third of them are related. We have aunts and uncles and cousins everywhere. And I have them throughout Portugal. But I have a great family in Portugal, amazing family. But being such a small town and being in a poor country, especially back then, it was self-sufficient. So next door to me lived my aunt, who was the dairy, supplier. On the other side was a wine distributor. Across the street was a company that made roof tiles and bricks and things like that. As a young kid, I was free to go anywhere in that town. I had complete freedom. From the time I was like 6 years old, I can go anywhere. I've never had a babysitter in my life. True. And I could just, I could go anywhere. That's when you get, just, if I have any skills at all, it comes from that kind of mindset. Having watched, and having those kinds of experiences that I watched back then. I never wanted to work in the company in a tannery. Right. My brother actually started working there when he was about 10 years old. My dad asked me to come in and do some work, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And I would rather be off in
doing something else.
Nature with my cousins and doing different things.
What's the name of the town? You haven't said it yet.
The name of the town is Amiage de Cima. Amiage de Cima, state of Santarém. And another thing that happened over there, right? So once we left there, my dad closed the tannery, closed the business. Closed the business because he couldn't get, and I want to go back a little bit to where the workforce thing, because I think this is important here, right? So my father couldn't get workers. What happened was he had three nephews, so my cousins, and my brother. And they were all around 18 years old. Portugal was a colonist country that had, we had colonies in Africa. And so they had, they were going through, independence wars and things like that. So every young man would be sent off to Africa. Well, because my father had the first marriage with an American-born woman, my brother came here, and that's how we were able to come to the U.S.
Got it.
But all of those cousins left the business. So my father was left with nobody. So, and that's one of the reasons why he had to close. But so the tannery was closed, and one of my cousins, one of them did go to war, came back, and he opened his own tannery. He opened the same place. But he did something different. He went to Germany, Italy, and places like that, and got educated in the business. And he took, he went to classes. He went to, he learned, brought back technology, and he built a fantastic business. He now has, he's one of the suppliers to the largest, manufacturers of pocketbooks and things like that. Chanel is one, Gucci, all those top fashion houses. It's an amazing place. He's got, it's a huge success story. The town is no longer 200 people, but maybe it's, 3,000 or 4,000.
It's still pretty small. And so what do you see as the lesson? What do you see as the lesson there? I mean, clearly making sure we have the workforce is critical. The
lesson is the technology and being able to, know, if you have technology and if you have skills, then you can always pass those on. So you're always passing those on. My father, he worked on the business, and and he couldn't do that. He couldn't, he didn't have the skills to pass it on to somebody. I mean, at one time he did try to hire someone, high, Cracker Jack type person to come in and do all this stuff, and it just didn't work out. And that was like the last straw. That's when he closed.
Close it up. Gotta always be looking forward to investing in that technology. So listen, last two rapid fire round of questions. What's one thing, Victor, that you learned early in your life or early in your career that you think helped propel you to all the success that you've had?
Well, it was definitely, I think it was definitely adopting the philosophy that, the bottom line is a byproduct of your service. That to me was the thing that put us, that definitely made the biggest difference. Don't worry about, we're not worried about numbers here. We're not worried about, how much it costs. Do a good job. And because you're going to create trust with your customer, you're going to create, you're going to build a customer. And that's how we're successful.
What's something that you learned later in life or later in your career that you wish you could go back and tell young Victor, and if he listened to you, it'd make a real difference?
Well, it was not hire Betty, that's for sure. No. Well, I would have told Victor to maybe to take a couple more years and get maybe more, maybe get a degree before doing this. But then my whole life would have been changed. At the time I did go to college. I did take some college courses to prepare me and stuff. But I always wished I had if I had a mechanical engineering degree, where would I have gone? But life is life. You don't know what could have happened. So
you ended at a pretty good place even without it. So I think it's all worked out.
I'm very happy and fortunate to be where I am, even though I'm not, Steve Jobs, or actually I don't want to be Steve Jobs.
You know what?
But I'm not Elon Musk. You
don't have to be. You're Victor DaCruz, and that's good enough. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Victor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great experience. This is, and you've been very welcoming, and thank you so much.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by IT Direct.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a community where we can learn and grow together. Your input, feedback, and engagement is critical to making that happen. Please do comment, like, and subscribe so more and more people can hear what we're doing and join our community of growth and success. Thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to you again soon.